Hello, Internet. It's the weekend. I'm back with some news stories. Let's do it. As the Geneva Motor Show is the biggest auto expo in Europe, and it usually has some pretty cool stuff to check out if you're really into high end vehicles or interesting concepts. Though in a lot of cases, the cars shown don't really apply to us North Americans, given that a lot of the brands and models that they show don't actually get sold in this market. And like I said, there's usually a lot of concept cars, which in most cases nobody gets. Anyway, the show kicks off on March 7th, and there's a tentative roster of attendees that's just been released. So I looked over it and tried to focus on things that may be interesting to the people living in this hemisphere. Big sorry to the Sassignon Corando. America just isn't ready. All right, well, on that sad note, we'll kick it off with the Porsche 911 Cabriolet, or the convertible version of the latest Porsche 911. The 911 Cabriolet will be available as a Carrera S with rear-wheel drive or a Carrera 4S with all-wheel drive, and will feature a powered soft top that will close up to 50 miles an hour. You'll also be able to stop by and take a look at the new McLaren 720S Spider, which sounds much better than something like the McLaren 720S Cabriolet, doesn't it? Just saying. Chinese brand BJEV, or BJEV? We're going to go with BJEV. I'm not really sure. But they'll also be there with a revised version of their limited production two-seater EV sports car, the Arc Fox 7, which sounds a lot like a title of an old video game, but It's also worth noting that the current version of the sports car has over 600 horsepower, a top speed of 163 miles an hour, and a 0 to 60 time of less than 3 seconds. And you can expect to see some better numbers when it shows up at the show. We'll also see BMW there with the latest 3 Series Touring, which BMW promises will be larger and more comfortable, as well as the restyled 7 Series, and along with that, the long wheelbase variant known as the G12, and the new X7. Next up is Honda, who will be there with a new all-electric vehicle, as Honda has pledged to switch 2/3 of its European sales into EVs and hybrids by the year 2025. No pictures are available yet, but I do have this sketch. Okay, how about this sketch? Yeah. Which just so happens to look a lot like the urban EV concept car that Honda showed us back in 2017. Anyway, Lamborghini also has plans to show off the new Evo edition of their entry-level car, the Huracan. We'll also get the world debut of the Pininfarina Battista, formerly known as the PF0, which is a roughly $2 million electric hypercar which supposedly sports over 2,000 horsepower and will have a sub 2-second 0 to 60 time and a range of 300 miles. And finally, Chinese subsidiary Polestar will be there with their first all-electric sedan known as the Polestar 2, which is said to take aim squarely at the Tesla Model 3, and deliveries are scheduled to start being filled by the end of the year. We also know that Mazda will be making a world premiere at the show, but haven't said what it'll be, and that Bentley will also debut some sort of 100th anniversary special edition vehicle, but once again, we decay. Also, so far, brands Volvo, Ford, and Jaguar Land Rover have stated that they won't be attending. And if you live in Fremont, California, be on the lookout for this. And this is a 2014 Tesla Model S85 that the Fremont Police Department bought recently for a total of $61,000. So, some may question how sensible this move was, given that a fully equipped Ford Explorer Interceptor lists for about 40 grand. But it'll still make for an interesting thing to see in your rearview mirror. And on Friday, a union who represents auto workers employed at GM's Oshawa, Ontario plant in Canada, known as Unifor, are calling for Canadians and Americans to put aside their differences and join together in a boycott of all GM vehicles made in Mexico. This comes on the heels of a decision GM made a few months back when, just in time for Christmas, it decided to close the Oshawa plant, and others when it announced a massive restructuring that could see a total of 5 North American plants closed and upwards of 8,000 North American white-collar workers getting laid off. All this while simultaneously deciding to increase investments and launch dozens of new and refreshed vehicles in places like Mexico, South America, and of course, China. And in Mexico alone, GM builds the Chevrolet Blazer, the Cruze, the Equinox, the Trax, and that all-American Silverado, along with some other vehicles like the GMC Terrain and Sierra. which are then in turn imported north and sold to the US and Canada to the tune of some $20 billion. And remember that General Motors is a company that was saved by the American taxpayer in 2009 when it received a total of, I believe it was $13 billion to keep from going out of business due to its own poor decision making. Anyway, Unifor would like anyone willing to participate in this partial boycott to know that any GM VIN number beginning with the number 3 means that the car was built in Mexico. And this week, someone out there noticed a trailer carelessly driving around with a never-before-seen BMW on the back. Speculation is that this is actually the new BMW i4 that's scheduled for release in 2021. The large decals on the doors and the trunk lid that say electric test vehicle were probably most people's first clues. And you can expect more on this in the upcoming year. And from CNET in the UK this week, apparently thanks to a glitch on its website, Toyota took too many pre-orders for the special launch edition of the new Supra. Apparently, the UK had been selected to receive only 24 of the special edition Supras. However, more than 24 people were able to put down £1,000 or $1,300 to reserve one. Though the article actually doesn't state just how many more orders were taken than Toyota had cars for. Toyota has been making efforts to make it up to the 25 and up crowd that put down a deposit, though. From everything to having their deposit completely refunded and their order canceled, or convert their reservation to a normal Supra Pro and receive a complimentary 2-year service plan and an invite from Toyota to attend an upcoming Gazoo Motorsports event. They also released a statement on the issue saying that as a result of this demand, we experienced a technical failure on our order system, which allowed orders to be accepted in excess of the available number of vehicles that were actually available. Please accept our sincere apologies for the frustration and disappointment that this will cause you. That was so strangely worded. I almost felt like it was translated from some other language, but it's for the UK, so. Anyway, fun fact. The entire European market is scheduled to receive a total of 90 special editions of the new Mark V Supra. North America will get 1,500. And speaking of the Supra, there's even more news on the horizon involving the wonders of platform sharing, as it looks like BMW and Mercedes-Benz might be teaming up to co-develop a new platform that would cover both the new 1 Series as well as the new A-Class. Great. Though, this information is still just a rumor at this point, as none of it's been confirmed by either company. We do know that the information came out of Germany, though, and that brands usually have a much smaller profit margin on entry-level vehicles like these, so there could be some truth to it. And that's going to wrap it up for this week. Sorry it was a pretty slow week, and pretty much everyone in the auto industry laid down their cards last week at Detroit. And I'll bet none of you want to sit here and listen to me talk about the Genesis GV80 or a GM truck made out of Legos, so I do this for you guys. Anyway, keep it tuned in here. See you soon.